All right, great stuff, fellas. So, next question, and this definitely is a that subject was definitely a good segue to here, talking about our kings and our queens, and what relationships look like in the Black community, and the fact that they're so diverse. But our next question is Russell Wilson a simp? And I'm throwing up my quotation marks there, right? Is Russell Wilson a
What is a
simp
simp, by the way?
based on the public
This is new
perception
terminology
of
for
how
me.
he treats Sierra? Exactly. I was actually going to start my response when it was my turn with the fact that that's another one of those terms where it is going to vary, right, in meaning per individual narrative. But yeah, so is Russell Wilson a simp based on the public perception of how he treats Sierra? So I think we're going to throw that one to E-Man. What say you, sir?
All right. So first thing first, no one kill me and anything like that. But you know, I don't know what the word simp means. Like, because I feel like there's so many terms now. Like I just
Mm-hmm.
found out like a few years ago what the word clout means and whatnot. And I
Right.
found out clout's been used like so many, like this year's been like I don't know why it's a new word like
Mm-hmm.
clout, but they've been using that for years. And
Mm-hmm.
a few artists actually use the word clout in their song. But like this
Yeah.
whole
Mm-hmm.
simp thing, I feel like
Right.
it's the same thing. But first things first, I'm gonna be completely honest and everything. I feel that Russell Wilson can do better without Sierra.
Mm.
Anybody can fight me on this, but that
Mm.
is what I'm saying.
Someone might.
Yeah, so you
Yeah,
know this.
someone might get up in here with some gloves and be like, "Yo, this fool E-Man is crazy." Well, I'm talking crazy right now, and let me continue talking crazy. All right. So Russell Wilson, I found out about Russell Wilson when he was playing college football, at Wisconsin, because I went to Penn State. But um, so and suppose he was dating some chick, seemed like they fell out. Then he go meet out Sierra. All right. Now, when people tell me about Sierra, so I think when did Sierra come out? She was like her first album was like I think I was like I
Oh,
was in
that's a
college,
great
Like
question.
somewhere in the early 2000s,
early
Yeah.
2000s, right?
early to mid
Yeah,
2000s.
early
Mm-hmm.
2000s. I'm thinking it was more like because I think were we in high school? Because I'm thinking it was like '04. Because she was
I
like
feel like we were.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because I
or
think that's
getting
when
out
I
of high
first
school.
yeah
Mm-hmm.
in and out of high school, but not too far.
2004.
2004, yeah. So I was
2004.
2004.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking
Okay, so I
I
was
was
out of high
probably like a
school then.
junior. Yeah, I was probably a junior in high school when she came out. So
Mm-hmm.
she was like 17 and whatnot. And
Yeah.
every time I think of Sierra, all I think of her first like single is My Goodies. Like every single time I think of Sierra,
Mm-hmm.
that's the
Mm-hmm.
only thing that comes out. Then she did a song with Petey Pablo and whatnot, you know. And yeah, I'm giving y'all some good facts about music. But like Petey Pablo, you know what I'm saying? I used to listen to him a lot because when he made that song, the Jones was talking about North Carolina, you know, raise your shirt, spin like a
Mm-hmm.
helicopter and whatnot. So when she
Mm-hmm.
did a song with like, Petey Pablo, my mind is like, yo, she's not all that great, you know? And I never, saw her like, going far in her music career and whatnot, you know. But I will give her the credit towards, that body part song that she came out with, I give her the credit. It's not a good, it's not a bad song actually, even though she sampled one of the best songs that came out of Georgia. But that's just my take on it, you know. But he can do better without her. I don't think he really needs her because this whole thing they keep talking about, oh, like she dated Future, but it seemed like that's the type that she kind of likes, you know. And it seems like she Future disrespected her, even though they had kids and whatnot. So she went for a guy who won't say mean things to her, who won't be as nasty as. So I think she groomed herself, you know, to fit in the mold for Russell Wilson, you know,
Hmm.
because Russell Wilson is a very established QB in the NFL. He's gotten big contracts, so he definitely has, a good bankrolls in the bank, so and he's not, you know, to me he's like a nerdy dude, you know what I'm saying?
Oh boy.
Yeah. And the reason why I'm saying this because, I'm a very nerdy dude. So just by seeing what Russell does, you know what I'm saying? He's trying to fit in, but I know that's not him, you know? And I can just tell, just like when I first saw him when he was in college, and now where I'm seeing him now, And like, if you notice, like, have you heard really anything that disturbing in the NFL about Russell Wilson? You know, like since he's been in the NFL, has anybody heard any crazy stories about him? You
Nope.
know, nope. And
Nope.
then you could just
I
tell what
think
type of
there was
personality
one
the man.
about something with his ex-fiance, just because
Yeah,
you
that was
asked.
yeah, that was about the only thing. But it seemed like, and I think this was the time I think he was dating Sierra and whatnot. So, and I feel like that's the only thing. But like anything like up real, like, him doing something violent to a woman or like any type of like domestic things, there's really not much out there about him. But he can do way better than Sierra. Was Sierra like that pick that came up? Yeah. But I feel like he can do 10 times better without her.
Hmm,
You know? I feel like
interesting.
anybody's worthy, to be towards what he wants, but he shouldn't lower. I feel like he's not lowering his standard. He shouldn't lower himself to feel that, Sierra is some prize that he won and whatnot.
Hmm,
Because
okay.
I feel like Russell can do well on his own. Maybe Sierra has accepted towards who Russell is, towards like his personality, of certain things in that nature, where many women are not so, pleasing to another man's personality because we might not do some of the certain things we want to do, but I feel like that's where the situation's coming from. But at the end of the day, like Russell can do better than Sierra. That's
Hmm,
what I'm saying. And
okay.
even if Russell Wilson's listening and everything like that, I'm just letting you're a good brother and keep elevating yourself to be a better person. But just from my point and standpoint, that you can do way better without her. And that's just
Wow.
me. So
Wow. Okay. All right. And PAT, I'm going to allow you the option to either go ahead and speak on your piece now, or you can go last. Up to you, sir.
I can speak my piece now.
Okay.
So when it comes to the term simp, I I was already familiar with the term because there are podcasts that I listen to where the dudes on the podcast have mentioned this term and they've talked about people being a simp. So I already heard the term before and I had an understanding of what the term means. I've looked on urbandictionary.com to see what other people are saying about it.
Right.
And I see what other people
I
said
love that
online.
dictionary, by the way.
So what I will say, so when we ask the question, what is a simp? A simp is short for sympathetic pimp. Also, simp is defined as a man who is overly submissive to a woman and gains nothing from it. Basically, a man who will do anything to get a woman to like him. He'll buy her gifts, he'll pay her rent. Basically, he'll do any and everything that she tells him to do just so he can be in her good graces. So that's the definition of a simp, right there.
Mhm.
So based on that, I'm gonna just go through a quick rundown of. So we got Russell Wilson, quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks.
Mhm.
Then we have Future, who's a rapper. Ciara, is it Sierra or Ciara? I always struggle with
Sierra.
Sierra.
Yeah.
Okay, because I've
Yeah.
heard people say Ciara too. Okay, Sierra, R&B singer. She has a son by Future.
Mhm.
Speaking of Future, just to give a rundown of his whole thing, he has I believe, a total of eight kids
Mhm.
and a total of 6 baby mothers,
Mhm.
five or six from what I've read.
Mhm.
Sierra is one of them. He
Mhm.
is seen as a bad boy.
Mhm.
And I'm putting up the quotes again, the air quotes. He's seen as a bad boy. and he raps about drug usage. Now we go back to Russell. Russell is, and I'm putting up the air quotes again, the nice guy. So based on that, I've heard people say that Russell Wilson is a simp even before this particular controversy, or I don't even want to call it a controversy. It's more, to me, it's more so of a non-controversy, which is not controversial. But he recently said that his biggest fear was losing Sierra. I believe she was asked that same question, but she didn't say her biggest fear was losing him. But he said that his biggest fear was losing her. But before all that, people were calling him a simp. And they were calling him a simp because Russell Wilson, he's seen as this good guy who's got a lot of things going for him, as E-Man has stated. And he chose to be with a woman who used to be with a quote unquote bad boy, and who has a child with a bad boy. And I've also read that Future said that Russell is not a real man and does what Sierra tells him to do. So just based off that, it sounds like Russell could be a simp. But I'll be honest, when it comes to all this celebrity, I'm gonna call it celebrity gossip, all this, I don't really pay too much attention to it, to be honest. I don't really like to read too heavy into it. I don't even like to have much of a definitive opinion on it, because overall, when it comes to this type of stuff, I'm just like, who gives a fuck? That's pretty much like how I look at all this stuff. But it's interesting because we're seeing how people look at who's an alpha male and who's the beta male.
Mm-hmm.
And I've read, and I've even heard people say that Future is the alpha while Russell is the beta.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's interesting because I guess an alpha male is the quote unquote bad boy, but
Mm-hmm.
the nice guy automatically is the beta male.
Right.
It's interesting when you hear that. And I'm just like, okay, so, and not to knock anybody who has multiple children by multiple baby mothers. Obviously, this is something that goes on out there in the real world. It is what it is. But are we saying that the dude who has sex with multiple women and has all these baby mothers and all these children all over the place, are we saying that that's the alpha?
Exactly.
Is that what defines an alpha? And the guy who doesn't necessarily do all those things, the guy who's the so-called nice guy, he's the beta, and we're saying he's the beta because he's not a thug, he's not a gangster, he's not hard. It's like, what are the metrics? Like what are people basing some of this shit on? Like,
right.
Russell, I've heard people say, oh, he's corny, it's just like, he might be, but I guess that doesn't make him he's still not an alpha male though, huh? So that's pretty much how I look at it. It's just a funny thing because it goes into alpha, beta, and nice guy, bad guy, so that's pretty much my take on it.
Before you get into it, not Angel, but that's a really interesting point that you say, PAT, and just I wouldn't say finish it, but I just want to add on to it. I always tell everyone this, and when you look at behavior and you look at very destructive behavior, it looks at not just as a society, but majority of people enjoy destructive behavior. Like it seems like we enjoy, that, like we're praising more Future rather than, Russell Wilson and whatnot,
Right. The Future's
and it's the whole thing going back, being corny, being different, makes you this word called a simp and whatnot, which
Right.
what I don't get,
Mm-hmm.
So I it's just the whole the thing about doing better, but it's this is the issue that keeps going on and on. But just to put another point out there, right? Before all that happened, did you know, like, supposedly, since they have a kid together, supposedly, his son spent time with Russell Wilson. And it seems like, the son loved Russell Wilson, towards his, a little bit, you get to meet an NFL player, mom's
Yeah, he
dating
calls him
him,
Papa Wilson.
you know, you know, I think Sierra's child with Future and whatnot, So you got to change. Who knows if the kid really liked Russell Wilson as a QB? But it seemed like they had a good time, But but you do know towards everything, you don't want to have a child, and then mom split up, you know, she's dating this boyfriend. Your son come back to you, talks about how cool he is and whatnot, you know how does that make you feel as a father and a man that your son feels like, his mom's boyfriend doesn't like, have all these good things to say about him versus as me. So I see that, that catch 22 right there, because it already happened. But I feel like that's why, Future Price said what he said about Russell Wilson, that, he Russell pays for everything and whatnot. That's like that whole thing about being angry and mad, you know, because you didn't like something. That's what I'm probably trying to draw up from the whole thing from like Future. Because for me, I'm not a Future fan and I don't listen to his music, so I don't really care so much about him. There's
Mm-hmm.
others that do, but I don't, But being as a man, an indigenous man, you know, you know, when you have a child, especially a son, that's basically your mini me, you know, because
Yep.
he's gonna look up to you because you are his dad.
Yep.
But then when something crosses that line, see, like, things change, and I feel like this is what happened into that situation. But I just wanted to add in on that. But
Okay. Okay. So, but I'm going to give my overall opinion on it, but then, and I'll keep it short, but I'm also going to address two things that each of you said, because I think it's important that it's an important part of my overall feeling. So, um, is Russell Wilson a simp based on the public perception of how he treats Sierra? In my opinion, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say, and again, as we've spoken on thus far, simp is another word, even though, Pat gave a specific Urban Dictionary definition of it, it's still, in my opinion, another word that is, grossly morphed to fit the person that's using its narrative in that time, right? So in general, though, from my point of view, this is a matter of perception and the sometimes underlying misogynistic tones of the Black community. Now, I think we had a post on Facebook a few months ago where we were talking about toxic masculinity.
Right.
I personally do not necessarily believe in toxic masculinity to a certain extent. And I'll touch, that's a whole different thing that we can go into, so I'm only going to touch on it briefly. But I do believe that there are levels of masculinity. I do believe that there are levels of masculinity that can go to an inappropriate level. I would not necessarily call it toxic. But with that said, how it relates back to here is that often in the Black community, and Pat spoke on this when he described, Future being the rapper and the thuggish type, and Russell Wilson being the good boy type, for lack of a better term, right? Often because those are people perceptions in our community, people are not going to be able to relate to something that is unrelatable. In other words, for all the men who are used to a certain level of masculinity, and I'm going to use the word inappropriate for lack of a better term, right? And who can relate to that because that is their own behavior or that is what they've seen. Future is going to come off as the victim in this case, or as the person that they more than likely equate themselves to. Whereas Russell Wilson is someone that they cannot equate themselves to. You know, most Black boys have this thought. Or not most, but I'm going to say there are a lot of Black boys who I want to be a rapper. I see the success that comes along with being a rapper. I see that, this is a realistic goal that I can actually reach. Whereas being a NFL starting Super Bowl quarterback is not one. And so when you look at just what people relate to, the underlying issue being the societal restrictions that are placed on the Black communities. And so the images that Black boys have to look up to, not just Black boys, but we're speaking specifically on Russ and Sierra. That's why that applies. And B, the fact that we are pushing in every single medium form that we have, this idea that this is representative of an alpha male versus this representative of a beta male, as Pat was speaking to before, then yes, people are going to declare him a simp. Do I actually feel like he is one just because he declares his love for his woman? Absolutely not. It's sad that a man is comfortable doing that is viewed as a simp because he's not the relatable figure, because of the societal restrictions that have been placed on us, because of all of the social just images, that the negatives, I'm going to put negative in there, the negative images that are being portrayed of Black men. Another subject that comes to mind, and I'm passionate about this, I'm an advocate for this, is this ridiculous diatribe that Black men being great fathers is a rarity. Absolute baloney.
Oh yeah,
It's baloney. But at the end of the day, it's a diatribe that we are constantly being subjected to. And until we accept that this issue is not really about Russell and Sierra, it's about what the Black community perceives is a healthy Black relationship between a Black man and a Black woman in today's times. And I think the underlying issue here is that what the Black man sees when they see Russell Wilson, or certain Black men, let me be careful with my words, is that what certain Black men see when they see the relationship with Russell Wilson and Sierra is opposite in what they see in themselves. Those ones who relate to Future, to having the multiple baby mamas, to treating women like they're secondhand objects to dispose of at their will. Of course, they're going to call Russell Wilson a simp because Russell Wilson is not reflective of their inappropriate behaviors. And just, to touch on
Bingo.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say I still want to keep your thought, you know what I'm saying? But that is basically, on point. But continue. I'm going to say a little something afterwards, but.
Sure. No problem. So, E-Man, the statement that I wanted to reference with that you were, at least this is what I conceived you were saying earlier, right? Is that that Russell Wilson is someone who elevated Sierra because Sierra's prior relationships were with dudes who were like Future. Well, before Future, Sierra dated Bow Wow. Okay. And I don't know that many people would claim that Bow Wow is sort of like an alpha male. I think Bow Wow gets that corny kind of, a little, he's a little, I think from the DMV terms, we would say Bama, right?
Yeah,
Like
he was a bad one.
yeah, exactly. Right? He's a Bama, right? So for me, that speaks to, even if it were the case, which is completely unsubstantiated that it is, right? But even if it were the case that Sierra only got with Russell Wilson to elevate, why wouldn't we encourage that? Why would we want her to continue with toxic relationships like Future and etc., when the entire point for our community should be for all of us to elevate? Why wouldn't we encourage Future to elevate himself? Not just Sierra, but not only elevate himself, but elevating his relationships. Slow down and find someone that you are, if that's what he wants, find someone that you're willing to build this stable family for or with. And so for me, it's a matter of making sure that we recognize this for what this is. What this situation is a view, it's a looking glass into how we as Black Americans today view stable Black relationships. What do we consider to be a stable Black relationship based on a reflection of our own selves? For me, that boils back down to, it's individual. What works for those two people works for them. What works for you may not work for them. So to put that label on them because it is different than the relationship you have, that's a reflection of yourself, not a reflection of what's truly happening with Russell Wilson and Sierra. And then Pat, I'm going to say this one last thing, and I'll throw it back to you guys really quickly. Pat, you made the comment that you heard that they were asked the question of what his biggest fear was.
Right.
And he said losing Sierra, and Sierra was asked the same question, and she didn't say him. Well, my thing is, and I'm not saying again, because I just said a few minutes ago that there's this whole perception that Black men aren't great fathers. I'm completely opposed to it. I will speak out against it every time. But, as a mother, that could have very simply been, her thought was, my biggest fear is something happening to my child. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a mother of two children.
Right.
And I know that would be my first thought. As much as I love my spouse, if someone asked me what my biggest fear would be, and he's the type of man he would want me to say that, my biggest fear would be something happening to my children that was harmful to them. So I just wanted to touch on those 2 points. I know I've been at it for a little while,
Nah,
guys.
nah,
I'm
Nah,
gonna
you
you
throw the
good.
good.
floor
You
back.
You
good.
good.
You good.
But I just want to basically, say, and to let everyone be honest to the truth, I'll be the same way too. That's my biggest fear also too. Is losing a child. That's always been my biggest fear. Because I've already had two people going through it already. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I was around that, and I saw, how broken, both of them were at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what that feels like.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen it with my own two eyes and been, you know, so and there's nothing, and I tell people that if you are a parent, that should be your number one answer, in my eyes,
Right.
but
Mm-hmm.
and now, and now going, back to the whole Sierra thing, but just, that is true. She did date Bow Wow, but even in my eyes, when I saw that, I felt basically, that Sierra was actually elevating Bow Wow. And here comes the thing, so at the time, I think what they did, Sierra was, was the most popular, artist at the moment, So her dating Bow Wow helped, Bow Wow elevate himself, because now, you know, it seems like it was like a reverse role, that, that it seemed like Sierra made Bow Wow look good and better for him and not the other way around. So
True.
the whole simp thing, I felt like, Sierra was more the simp to Bow Wow, Now, coming
Mm,
now, years
interesting.
down the lane, now it's falling, towards Russell Wilson, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But I told everyone this, many people, towards in our, Black Indigenous community, they enjoy drama and toxicity,
Mm-hmm.
because that's basically what majority of the ones who public figures per se are always seen on television. Like, like, and I tell everyone, like, I watch almost everything I can, you know, you know, and that's all. Like, I used to watch Basketball Wives and whatnot when it first came out, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you the reason why I stopped watching it. I started seeing now the toxicity of everything that was in it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's what I saw. That basically, it seems like we do is enjoy drama and toxic things.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it seems
Yeah.
like we don't want good things, because if
Yeah.
we
Mm-hmm.
want good things, we would keep it and cherish and value it, you know. But it seems like we don't want to value good things. We don't want to cherish good things, you know. So this is why Future looks the way he looks and whatnot. But just to end my point, to be and to perfectly be honest, I just think for Future in his sense, even though you have all those baby, I feel like a poly relationship might work for you better and whatnot, and just leave, Russell Wilson there alone. That's just me. You know what I'm saying?
Yikes,
Because
Yeah.
Ethan. Yikes.
I'm just saying I'm trying to help him out and whatnot. So
That
so
would work more for him. A poly
I feel like
relationship.
it will work more for him. And this is what I tell people: do things that you know is going to work for you. You know what I'm saying? And I told everyone I'm starting to learn all different about different peoples and cultures and how everybody go about themselves. If you know that works for you, hey, I ain't knocking you. Do you and whatnot. See, but don't come over here because the simple fact is you mad about another situation. And I feel like I think this is what's like stirred up this pot and whatnot. But that's just all what I want to say off on this. I'm done with
Mm-hmm.
it. I'm done with it.
Gotcha. Pat, anything you want to add before we wrap up, sir?
Real quick, a statement that was out there that I thought was interesting and was definitely something that really, I guess, blew up the conversation or the discussion, so to speak, is someone said that women don't want Russell Wilson. They want Future to act like Russell Wilson. So I thought that, I thought it was an interesting statement. And I
Oh
do
shit.
think there is some truth to that. And it's definitely something we could dive deeper into on the next
Mhm.
episode.
Okay.
And it just goes back into the whole nice guy and bad boy
Mm-hmm.
labels that are out there. And women, and we all hear about women wanting the bad boy.
Right.
They want the bad boy. They don't want the nice guy. They friend zone the nice guy. So I I thought that was an interesting statement. And of course, that statement got a ton of comments, a ton of views,
Right.
and it really sparked this whole discussion about a simp and who's a simp and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
To end it off, I will say that if we're going by the definition of simp, honestly, I don't really know a whole lot or pay too much attention to Russell Wilson and
Mm-hmm.
Sierra. A lot of that stuff, really, a lot of the celebrity gossip is in my periphery. I
Right.
just hear stuff and read stuff here and there. I will say that I won't even really focus too much on them, but I would just say that a man loving his woman, a man loving his girlfriend or his partner, his wife, that in and of itself is not a simp. A man showing his love for his woman is not a simp. A simp is a man who basically will do anything to gain favor with a woman who is not interested in him. Basically, there's no it's not, the love that he has for that woman is not reciprocated. There's no level reciprocity there. He's doing any and everything he can do to get this woman's attention, to get this woman to like him, but she just is not that interested in him. That's a simp. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm gonna end it.
No, I feel you,
agree.
Pat. I feel you. And just to wrap up, I definitely agree with you. I think in Sierra's case, she's definitely interested. I think that's the difference, right?
Right.
She's married to him. She has bore his child.
That too.
You can't get more interested in that, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, only those two truly know what the love level is like in their relationship. So I think all of our points are fair. This was a great one, folks.
I
All
agree.
right.
Also, Russell, work on leaving Sierra. You can do it. That's all I'm gonna say,
Man,
Russell.
sir.